Sikha we'll be learning is in the Sikha's Chelik Yutes, and the title of the Sikha Pashas is Sove Chayelo. So it talks about both in Yonim, say about the Pashas Kisove and say about Chayelo, the connection between the two. Chayelo, the Emeledus from Shnei Ameres Agdelim, Chayelo, which is the birthday of the two luminaries. That's how the Friedrich Rebbe calls them. Calls both of them in the Sikhs. That means the Baal Shem Tov, which is the Miyaset and Terech Chassidus Aklolis from the Alter Rebbe, Miyaset and Terech Chassidus Chabad, is the birthday of the one that established the general union of Chassidus. That's the Baal Shem Tov, and the one that established Chassidus Chabad as the Alter Rebbe is Allah Mochal B'Smichas Shabbos Parshas Sove or the Shabbos Parshas Sove Alein. It's always close to the Shabbos Parshas Kisove, or sometimes it comes out on Shabbos Parshas Sove itself. Vibald as Ale Me'adei, and skip the parentheses for a second. Me'adei Hashono, since all the Me'adim, which means the Yomim Tevim of the year, and the word Me'adei comes to the Rebbe says from Loshem Meyuid. Meyuid means Azaman mit Aspitzel Inhalt, a time that has a special content, a special meaning. So all the Me'adei Hashono, all the special days of the years, in the Parshas HaTorah, they're hinted in the Parshas of the Torah was werden geleint in these manim welches zijn chal. They're hinted in the Parshas of the Torah that we read at the time when these days happen. So we have to say, as in Parshas Sove is merumes the techen von Chayel. So in Parshas Sove, you also have hinted the union of Chayel. The fact as wird angerufen Yontev und Meyed Kiyidu, especially that we find in the Sikhs of the Friedrich Rebbe, it's called a Yontev, it's called a Meyed. And the Loshen of the Shalom is that the Parshas have a shaychas to the Meyed of that time, of that Parsha. So Parshas Kisove, which is always usually connected to Chayel, also must be in Parshas Kisove. There's a hint.
Yeah, okay.
The Baal Shem Tov and the union of the Alter Rebbe. And Rebbe explains how. Goes to explain the connection. The name von unser Sedre was in ihr is ongedeit gedu der Teich von der ganze Sedre. The name of this week's Sedre. That in the name is hinted the Teichen of the whole Sedre. That we know that Rebbe Shita. It's not only because that's one of the first words of the Sedre, but also a name gives out the contents of something that's called by the name. So the name of a Sedre gives out the whole Teichen of the Sedre. So the name of this week's Sedre, which is, as we said, the Teichen of the whole Sedre is Kisove. Sometimes some places it's called Sove, some places it's called Kisove, but it has to do with the word Sove. So Sove, the word Sove represents what the Seder is all about. What does Sove mean? The Taish for Sove al-Oretz is Lacher Yushav Yeshiva. The Torah says Kisove al-Oretz, and you will come to the land. That means, and then you the mitzvah bring it bikurim. That means after you inherited it and you settled it. That's the meaning of Kisove. That's what Rasha says. Und nicht nur in unser Parsche, wo der Posek is mefaret v'yirashta v'shaftabo. And this union that, when it says Kisove, it means after conquering and settling, is not only in our Parsha. In our Parsha, it's more clear because it says clearly in the Posek, v'yirashta v'shaftabo, you're going to inherit and you'll settle. No, the Chazal zogn as umetum v'shteit Kisove kietze b'zeh meint is lacha Yerushalayim Yeshiva. The Chazal tell us wherever the Torah uses the word Kisove or something similar to that, it means not only when you just physically enter the land. You enter the land, you conquer the land, and you settle in the land. And since this is the meaning, the interpretation of the word Kisove all over, wherever it says, is verstandig, so we understand as Agami learned the sop from them. So we understand like this. And even though, how do we know this, what the word Kisove means? Kisove means to come in. How do you know it means after conquering and settling? Because in one place it says that, so from there we know it means all over. But nevertheless, but it must be that's the word Sovi. Now, how we know that that's the word, the meaning of the word Sovi is because it says in one place clearly. But Lapel, after we have that limud, and this is what the Chazal says, the taich of the word Sovi. So we know Sovi means really, really going in, not just entering superficially, just coming in. It means coming in and getting the land, conquering the land, and settling the land. Nochmer. Now, even goes even more than that. And as the Rebbe will explain, conquering and settling the land could be an individual thing, could be from everybody together. It took a long time for them to conquer and settle the land. It took 14 years. That means that it took 14 years for everybody to get it. So during the time, some already got their pieces, some didn't. So the Rebbe is going to say that that it means Lacha Yerusha Yeshiva, that Kisove means after you conquer it, you inherit it, and you settle in it, doesn't mean when each individual settles. That's when the mitzvah Bikurim goes. You only chai mitzvah Bikurim when all the Yidden are settled in the land. That's what the Rebbe says. Yerusha Yeshiva may need the Yerusha Yeshiva from the Myochid. And it says it means after you inherit and you settle. Doesn't mean from the individual as noch da wie kommt ein chelik in Eretz Yisrael dafür bringt Bikurim. But after he, meaning this individual person, got his share in Eretz Yisrael, now he's obligated to bring Bikurim, which is the mitzvah of this parsha. Nor what that means is noch the Yudal Shana Shekov Shivacholku Gams Eretz Yisrael. Kisove means that when you come in and you're Chai Bikurim, it's only after the 14 years when they conquered the land and divided it for everybody. The whole land was divided. And the Rebbe says, like he explained once before, the diuk in Rashi, in this week's parsha, Rashi writes, that from the pasuk we see that they did not get obligated to bring the kurim till they conquered the land and divided it. That's how Rashi says. Rashi doesn't say it's after inheriting and settling like the pasuk says. What's Rashi adding and changing here? So the Rebbe explained in a different sicha, Ademiti Rashi do madgish, this by doing this, Rashi is stressing as v'yirishta v'yishafta bo do main kibush v'chiluk ha'oretz from ganzen land. Here it means this mitzvah bikurim, which is set kisove, means after. And Rashi uses the lotion. They conquered the land, not they conquered a piece. They conquered the land and divided the land. So here it means even more than just entering and getting a piece of the land. It means when Klal Yisrael already conquered and settled the whole Eretz Yisrael. So obviously, even this inyan, that it means that you not only are inside and not only you have your share, but it means you have everything. This also is the meaning of the word kisove. So now we know, we try to find the connection between kisove, the name, and Chail. So we have to know first what the kisove means. So the Rebbe explained kisove means entering, but entering completely. And not stam completely, you enter completely, that you even got your share in the Yisrael when you entered 100%, but everybody already got their land. The beer bezeh, to explain that. The richtige Teich from Bia is reinkommen in Ganzen. The real meaning of entering means entering completely. Al derech maimer Chazal, and Chazal say Bia b'mixes leishmo Bia. When you enter a little bit, it's not called entering. That's what the Gemara says in Chum. And even if only a little bit is missing in your coming in, it's not the real complete entering. And the Rebbe says in order 17, we say not complete. Sometimes we find that if the majority of you went into some place, it's called already you went in. But sometimes not. So the fact that sometimes yes and sometimes not means that it's definitely not completely. LMI, sometimes not complete is good enough. But for sure, when is it completely called going in? When you went in completely. Just like when you go into the water, the pasuk says you go into the water, then you become toer. That's the tefillah, that's the immersing. Every part of the person has to go. Even your little tiny hair has to go into the water. And there it says the word bo, be b'mayim. So from there we see that the real meaning of entrance is if you entered completely. That's why it means, when it says here, kisove means after you inherit the land and you settle on the land, which means everybody got the share in Eretz Yisrael. Only then we are considered that you went into Eretz Yisrael completely. Then you did the entrance completely in the form of settling, because now you are here completely. Nochmer goes even further. It's der Achtes von Eden. Because Yidden are united. His Kozmanes is nicht gewähnt, die Yashves von alle Yidden. Was davon dort sein dort. So as long as not every Yid who was supposed to get the Shem, so got it in Eretz Yisrael, fell tegen the Psove for Yidden. So every Yid who did get their share already, it's missing in their Sove, it's missing in their entering. Hagamas being befrat is the Shein Lacha Yerusha V'Yeshiva M'zayin Chelik, even though he specifically got his share. By him it's already Lacha Yerusha V'Yeshiva. After you inherited and you settled. But not everybody else did. says since Kisobe means completely, and by Yidden we're all one, the fight is the MSB and Eretz Yisrael dafke noch kibush v'chilut from ganz Eretz Yisrael. That's so when is it considered that a Yid entered Eretz Yisrael? And as we said, entering means fully. Not only that he went in, not only that he already got his share, but also everybody got their share. Because as long as not everybody got their share, since we're all one, each one who did get is still missing, and you have to go incomplete. So here we have two inyonim. Now that we know what Kisove means, this is the connection between Kisove and Chayel. What's the connection? The roof to Fontegas Achsidis. Chayel is the emeritus of the founder of Chassidus. The roof to Fontegas Achsidis is Gal geworden durch Baal Shem Tov dem Alter Rebbe. The specialty, what changed, or what was the chidush of Chassidus that happened through the Baal Shem Tov and then through the Alter Rebbe is the Aveda von Teire Mitzvah soll getan werden in einer von Sove. The Teire Mitzvah should be done in the form of Sove. That means reingehen in ganz in der Aveda. Sove means you go in completely, as we said before. And that's what Chassidus accomplished. That a Yid should be completely involved. His whole mehus should be the union of Teire Mitzvah in der Aveda. Because es bleibt nicht über keine Kude im Menschen, was ist nicht durchgenommen mit Teire Mitzvahs. Not one point in the person remains not connected to Teire Mitzvahs. Kedel comment like the Rebbe will explain. So right away we see the general connection between Kisove and Chassidus. That Kisove means going completely, and that's exactly what Chassidus taught and teaches. That you have to be involved in Teire Mitzvahs completely. Okay, Shem in the meaning of Sove and the Franz inyonim. And just like in Sove, we have two inyonim, as we said before. Number one, the closest in Kisove. Generally, you go in. That's a general thing, and that is Kisove. To a certain degree, that's Kisove, because you did come in. But then there is a second thing, the protim und eifen in dem Sove, the Yerishto v'shaftabo. And then you have more details that you go into every detail. You settled, you conquered it, and you settled. So that's not just a general entrance, but there's an entrance in the protim. All the protim become yours. You're connected to all the details. That's the two inyonim Kisove. And since Chayel, which is Chassidus, is connected to Kisove, as they say in Chayel, in Chayel we also find the two things. Chayel, which we said means to be involved and enter into Teire Mitzvahs, you have the two things. What are the two things? The Yemeledis and Baal Shem Tov, the Meyasef and Teire Mitzvahs, really the Baal Shem Tov who established general Chassidus HaKlolis, which as we see is connected to the first inyan, that you entered into Eretz Yisrael, but based on Kloli, you're there. The same thing here. Chassidus of the Baal Shem Tov taught that you have to be chlolis, you have to be involved completely in Teire Mitzvahs. And the second thing that you can let us from the Alter Rebbe, the Meyasef and Teire Chassidus Chabad. The Alter Rebbe, who is the founder of Chassidus Chabad, which is already details. Chabad is already your intellect, your details of the person. So the two inyonim we said before in Kisove, the superficial part of Kisove, and the entrance in all the details are the same thing like Chassidus HaKlolis and Chassidus HaProtis, which is Chabad. But the chilek zwischen they is, what is the difference between what the Baal Shem Tov established and then the Alter Rebbe continued it even more? The difference is, the Friedrich Rebbe said, the Baal Shem Tov what by Vizim the Mendarv in the Meibishten. The Baal Shem Tov showed how you have to serve Hashem, how you have to be Mendarv. Was das is the Dubin in Kole for Sove, that's Kisove, that you have to serve Hashem. That means your whole Metzias has to be serving Hashem. Und Alter Rebbe by Vizim wie not how you have to, but how you're able to do it, which means says the Arab to bring it as a fail, how to bring it in actuality, in reality. Chail, you can impart him how you bring it on in the details. Like when it says inheriting and settling, which is the protim. It will come as he'll explain more in detail and see you later on. So here we have the two things. The Baal Shem Tov, as the Alter Rebbe, Friedrich Rebbe said, the Baal Shem Tov showed us how you're able to, how you have to serve Hashem, which means he showed us that you have to serve Hashem in a form that you and the Teire Mitzvahs become one. And the Alter Rebbe showed how it's possible. That means how it could happen by Chail, which means how you bring it down more into the details of the person, and that's connected to Chassidus Chabad, as he'll explain soon. We'll explain this by first explaining what everyone knows. The revelation of Chassidus is a Hagdome, an introduction to the coming of Mashiach. This is Yidua, like it's known. The answer from Mashiach to Baal Shem Tov, the Mashiach answered the Baal Shem Tov, as is Osimar. that when the fountains, the wellsprings of the Baal Shem Tov will be spread in the world, that's when Mashiach will come. So we see the connection between the Baal Shem Tov and Chassidus and the coming of Mashiach. 8 is Sifrei Kabbalah. So now that we connect it to Mashiach, it says in Kabbalah for him, as bis bis a Mashiach and alle Geluim in Welt nor von Seine. These are Kabbalistic terms. I'll just say it very general. So it says all the Geluim, we know there always comes down different Geluim in the world, different revelations of godliness come into the world constantly. And that's even now. We don't see it. Big tzaddik can feel it, but we don't feel it, but it's there. So it says the level from where it comes Lamaila is from Chitzeini Satik, the superficial part of Atik. Mashiach Mashiach is going to cause that there will be a Gila Pnimis. Now we know, just to go very general, we know there are different elements. There's a Seder Ishtalshalis. There's David Kivyochel himself, and then you have the way he comes down into different spheres, different elements. So you have Atzilas, Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah. That's where the Seder Ishtalshalis comes. And then you have Madrege on top of Atzilas, the higher Madrege of Atzilas, which is called Keser. And in Keser itself, you have Atik, which is one part of Keser. That is basically the way it's beyond the creation. That's the Eibishter within himself as a creator. And then comes the creation. And that we call Atik. And in Atik itself, you have two levels. You have Pnimis Atik and Chitzenis Atik. Chitzenis Atik means it's not the Eibishter himself and it's beyond creation, but it's already a level where the Eibishter is putting himself in a matzav that he's ready to create, ready to go outside of him. That's what Chitzenis. Chitzenis means something that's outside of you. It's something not you really. It's you, but the way you are standing in connection, in relationship outside of you. Pnimius means what's inside you. So Pnimius Atik means the way David is inside himself, beyond even putting himself on the matzav of getting close to creation. While Chitzenis Atik is only that madrege, the lower madrege, where you're stuck in him, but the way he's outside, the way he is connected to creating the world, etc., etc. And when Mashiach will come, there will be Pnimis Atik. And Pnimis Atik means there will be the Gilui of the Pnimis of David, the way he is inside Atzmai. The Baldas Achona, and what's the Achona to Mashiach? Chassidus. So the Baldas Achona hat in sich am ein von der Minion zu welchem is Achona. Since whatever you're preparing to something, so the preparation itself has in it similar things to what you're preparing to. So we have to say, as there ufte from Chassidus is the inyan for Pnimis and Avodas Sodom and Mitzvahs. Since Mashiach is going to bring the Gilui of Pnimis Atik, of Pnimis, so to speak, of the Eibishter, we are preparing through Chassidus to the coming of Mashiach. So what is it? If you're preparing for something, the preparation has to be similar to what you're preparing to. So the preparation has to be, we in our Aveda should work Pnimis. We should do the mitzvahs the Pnimis, because we're preparing to the Gilui Pnimis of the Eibishter. The Paras Chassidus, Mamshu, the Pnimis from Elokus, Pnimis Atik, Chassidus says brings down the Pnimis of Atik, Pnimis of Elokus. Why? Because Chassidus operation of Mashiach is going to be the Gilui of Pnimis Atik. So we have to prepare through Chassidus to the Gilui HaPnimius of the Eibishter. So we have to do things by us in the Pnimius, that we will do Torah mitzvahs of Pnimius. But the chiluk zwischen Pnimius and Chitzenis in Pashas by mention, when we talk about a person, Namoshel, of a person. There's the Chitzenis of the person, the Pnimius of the person. What is the real difference? The real difference is like this. Pnimius means that the mensch is lasmei. Like we said before, Pnimius means the way you are to yourself. It's you, as you are to yourself. Chitzenis, superficial, means the way he is already standing in connection to something outside of him. So azulas was his him to somebody else who's outside of him. That's like Chitzenis. So Chitzenis means towards something else outside of you. Pnimius means the real you. In Afkemina zwischen in Aveda Sodom, when we say in Aveda you could serve the Eibishter Pnimius and you could serve Chitzenis, what does that mean? When I mentioned Azach, normally than Chitzenis, if a person does something only with your Chitzenis, that means with yourself, you do it and it's in you, but the level of you that's already in connection to outside of you is nicht reingetan in dem mit den ganzen Etzen of Pnimius. So the person is not involved with his real essence, with his real Pnimius, or Blazman sein Chitzenis. Since of him is involved in what he's doing, that's his Chitzenis. In dem Gufe, nor dem Adregen, was hat a Shaykh zu Minyan, was is Chutzim. Not only, first of all, it has a Shaykh, it's only connected to something that of him the way he's connected to the outside. But Bechlal, even whatever he's doing it not with his whole etzem. So there are 2 points that I was making here. You're doing it only with your superficial part, and the superficial part is something that's connected to outside of you. So the superficial part means it's your superficial part. It's not your etzem. And that goof is to what? To something that's outside of you. Und der Far bleibt und die Sache, was tut, and therefore, since it's not really the real him, so whatever he does it, and he does it, but he doesn't become one with the thing he does. There's he and this thing he does, because it's not his etzem. So that's not him. When a person does something with his pnimis, he's reingetan in them. So he's put it completely into it. When we bald doesn't say pnimis, is talking not for apples versus chutzim. Since if you do something with your pnimis, and in your pnimis, there's nothing outside of you. You're only involved in what yourself. So it comes out as tun die Kazach afil aprotes dikim in sein pnimis und netzem, wer die Sach vereinzigt mit ihm wie ist. So if you do it with your pnimis, and there's in the pnimis, there's no outside. So you're completely involved. You're doing it with yourself, with your you, with the pnimius. So the you is involved in what you're doing. When we apply that to Torah mitzvahs, that means that you do it with Torah mitzvahs. And the Rebbe says a point here, which is Negeya, that if you do it with the pnimius, like there's another difference between if you do it with the pnimius and do it with the chetzainius. You do it with the chetzainius, it's more baklolos. You're involved in something. There's you and there's a involved. It's not really you. So there's a general involvement. If you do it with the pnimius, that means your essence is involved. So there's nothing but your essence, and that includes all the details. So it's not just bechlolos. It's not just your klolos dikinian involved. You're involved in every prat. So when you do it bechetzenius, besides everything said before, you don't get involved, become one with the details, with the general linear, because that's your general is involved. You're generally involved. So you're involved in the general thing. But if you're involved in the pnimius, it means that you. There's nothing but you. So then, if there's nothing but you, you're involved. Every detail is you, because there's nothing else. And every detail is you. That's the specialty. That's what Chassidus made. And generally, the pnimis HaTorah, which is called in the Shoma of the Torah, is megalad in the Kudas HaChayis v'na'idin in all Torah mitzvahs. It reveals this nekuda, this life of a yid in everything in Torah mitzvahs. But in the Tchune for Chayes is that das wird vereinzigt mit der Sache, was belebt. What does Chayes mean? Chayes means life. Chayes, when it gives life to something, it's not the pshat. There are two things. There's the thing, the object, and there's a life. You see, when you have a car and you have a motor in the car moves, but it's not that the car changed. The car is not alive. See, by a human being, it's not like a human being. You have a nefesh, you have Chayes, the Chayes, and you become one. That's what Chayes of something means. It becomes one with the thing which is in this mechayim, which it gives chayes. Chayes is not meisif kinaya protim in the zach was ever left. Chayes doesn't add anything to the thing that he gives life to. You have chayes giving life to a person, doesn't add the chayes on an additional thing. In a guf chayes and in a guf mess, in a live body, there's not any more limbs than you have in a dead body. It doesn't add. Chayes bepeil is nicht kein besondere Zach from them was ever left. Chayes is not something separate from the thing it gives life to. But also the neshama from them guf from them left. It is the life, the neshama, the soul of what is giving life to. And that means yet the nekuda from guf is a lebedik and nekuda. Every part of the body is alive. So when you say life, life means it becomes part to the body, part with the thing that it gives life to. So every part of the body is alive. So even though they're details, so it's not just generally he is alive. He's alive in every part of the body, connection to the protim, to the details. You could have a concept of life which just gives general life. Person could be alive. But then you have the fact that the life is in every detail. That life, the hand has life. What kind of life does it have? Life that gives it the ability to move. So there is the chayas, which is in the prat of the individuality of the hand. The prat of the hand. The eyes have this kayach from the life. And then there is a general life. So the life, if you say something is alive, it means every detail of whatever it is alive. The time of them is, the reason is, while chayas is in the shomer pnimis for mention. Life is the pnimis of the person. That is, say a person is his flesh, the person is his life. The far is in an ort wo chayas kommt on, nimmt es durch im ort im Ganzen. That's wherever the chayas comes, it takes it over completely. If the chayas comes there, it makes that part alive. Because that's what the person is, the real person, the pnimis of the person is the life. The mele, whatever it comes, it gives it life. Und das ist der Ruf to Chassidus in the meaning of Torah mitzvahs. This is what Chassidus made when it comes to doing Torah mitzvahs. The limit of Torah kiyam mitzvahs kazanyan ha'efen as der Eden the Torah mitzvahs and never zwei Sachen. It's possible for you to learn Torah and to do mitzvahs. And they remain two separate things. It's him, and he learns Torah. But the Torah didn't become him. He didn't become the Torah. I feel by lima that Torah, but them in Tanya. Even when you learn Torah, and it says in Tanya, when you learn Torah in your mind and your brain, so there is such a unity between your brain and the Torah. There's nothing similar to that in the world. You become one, and what do you become one with? With neighbors. So the Chora here, we do see that normally when you just learn Torah, you become one with the Torah. So why are we saying that it's possible to learn Torah and do mitzvahs, and that you should be separate from the Torah? He says, true. When you learn Torah, your seichel becomes one with the Eibishter. He says, it's not that your whole person becomes one. Your seichel is one with the Torah. But it doesn't mean that your whole mahus, your whole personality becomes one with the Torah. Chassidus on the other hand, demands and shows the way that everybody could reveal his pnimis and chayas. If you reveal your pnimius, then the Torah mitzvah becomes one with you, because the details become one with you. This is the explanation that Rabbi says why Chassidus is the introduction, the preparation to the coming of Mashiach, when it will be the Gilui, as we said before, of Pnimisati. All the madregas from Nishtalshel, all the madregas of Ishtalshel coming down from Elam Hazeh and Elam Asi, and then you have Elam Ayitzir and Elam Abriya and Elam Atzilas, all the way even to Atik, but to Chatzenis Atik. There's a possibility of a Metzias which seems to be outside of the Eibishter. And the Riber Afilim and Zeven is Gali. Therefore, even when these great Giluyim are revealed in the world, it is out in Ha'efim, as it is in Chail Betachas the Metzias Welt. It doesn't negate the possibility of a Welt being a Metzias Welt. It's a Gilui of the Eibishter. But it's all the way the Eibishter puts himself in the matzah relates to the creation of the world. So all these levels, you still could have a Metzias Welt. Pnimis Atik, but the level higher than the Pnimis Atik, mean that Etzem von Elokus. That means the Eibishter, the way he is on his own, that's Elokus. But Mitzadim is Nitok Kein Ort for Epis was Chutzim. It's at the Pnimis, there's no place for anything besides of him. And the far when Pnimis Atik, like Nitzgala and Elamas, that's why when Pnimis Atik is revealed in the world, he says in an Eifen as Veldim Tziusam mit the Lekus Vern Kiv Yochel Ein Zach. Then the Lekus and Velt and the Lekus become one. There's nothing outside of the Lekus. Ain't Eid Mulvade, there's nothing but the Eibishter. Remember, the Velt that has the Gilui becomes one, nothing but with one with the Eibishter. So that's Pnimis Atik. And since the union of Chassidus is to bring out the Pnimis of a Yid, that's why it's a preparation to the coming of Mashiach. Coming of Mashiach, when there'll be the Gilui of Pnimis of the Eibishter, Pnimis Atik, which means there will be, the Welt will be one with the Eibishter, won't be a next separate Metzias. So now we also have to do that we have to become one with the Torah mitzvahs, which is the Eibishter. And that's why we have to do it to the Pnimius. And Pnimius means is the Chayas, and Chayas becomes one with the thing, and you have to become one with we have to become with the Torah, which is Chayas of a Yid, and it means that it becomes part of your Etzem. Now, in Am Chayas was his in Spashek and Guz and Franz Madrid. What he said till now is the general idea what Chassidus is in general. Chassidus in general is to teach a person, show how you go into Torah mitzvahs completely. You become one with Torah mitzvahs. Not just that your seichel becomes one with the Torah. Your whole mitzvahs is nothing but the Eibishter. You put your pnimius into the Aveda, which is similar to pnimius Atik, which will be Nizgalo Mashiach. That's why it's a chodesh. But we said before there are two things in Chassidus. There's the Chail, which is connected to Baal Shem Tov. There's Chail connected to Alter Rebbe, to Chassidus Haklolis, and Chassidus Chabad, which is specific. Meichen, intellect. So Rebbe will explain that further. In Chayas Odom, was Mispashet in Guf, in the Chayas of the person that's in the body, which we said before means that the Chayas becomes one with the body, but there are two Madregas in that itself. Number one, the Chayas Koli is by Leppen Ganzen Guf mit alles ein Ebrim Bishove. There is the Chayas Koli, we call it, that the Chayas that gives life. There is the life force that comes into the person and comes into every part of the body and becomes one with that part, but all limbs are equal. The hand is alive, the nose is alive, the eyes are alive, and the Chayas Kloli comes in and makes everything alive. Just to give a mashal, the difference of Chayas Kloli and Chayas Prati is the difference between if a person, Chas v'sholom, is paralyzed, and certain parts of the body don't work. but they're still alive. Because it wouldn't be alive, they would die, it would be gangrene. It's alive. So what's the pshat? Is the life in, let's say his hand, chas v'sholem, is paralyzed. Is his hand alive or not alive? Well, obviously it's alive. The chayas is there. But it's not alive. If it would be real, the chayas would be there. It would be able to work. The answer is there's two things. There's chayas kloli, there's chayas prati. The general chayas means the chayas comes into the body and makes everything alive. All the same. The eyes and the head and the heart and the hands and the feet, they're all one body. And because it's a body, it's alive because there's the chayas kloli. Then you have the chayas prati, the chayas that comes in every part of the body, specifically to that part. There's the chayas that comes into the hand and makes the hand do its function. Comes into the eye and make it have it able to do its function. That's already besides the general being the eye being alive. It's alive with the chayas prati, which is connected specifically to the eye. In them chayas is me talking chiluki for nine never visits faith. In the chayas kloli, there is no difference between one and the other. That's why the hand can't function. You could be alive, but it doesn't function. It's alive like every part of the body is alive. But then you have the second thing, the chayas prati, individual chayas, was is uzgimosten and jeden evel is eine tchunas. It's in every part of the body, in every limb, according to its characteristics. But mitzadem chayas, beder ekev sheberega longerufen the malach hamav shebodem v'valer chayas it nit mehr begiloi. We see that it says in Novus the Reb Nosson that whatever we have in the world, we have in every, whatever we have in the person, we have in the world. In the world, we have, don't forget, whatever we have in the world, we have in the person. In the whole world, we have all kinds of things. One of the things we have is a malach hamavis, death. Where do we find death in the body? Yeah, he says the bottom of the foot, the sole of the foot has very little life. So that's dead. So there, what does that mean? That the chayas is there very, very little. That's the chayas proti. It's still alive. The best proof it's alive is it grows, and if you stick it, it'll hurt. But it's a very minimal amount of chayas. So the chayas proti goes into every place differently. It's a certain level of chayas in the brain and in the heart and in the hand, and then you have in the bottom of the foot is malach hamavish shebodem. That's the least. So, but you have these two levels of chayas. And we said the whole idea of Chassidus is to show that you have to be like chayas, you have to become one with Torah mitzvahs. So just like a chayas, we have two inyanim, we have the chayas kloli, which is also the person becomes, the chayas becomes the person becomes the chayas. Then you have the chayas proti, not only bechlolos it becomes, but every detail becomes. So the Rebbe says, Yeshleimer ad runtersheit, zwischen dem chayas Chassidus, was nimshach von Eskala geworden durch Baal Shem Tov, that this chayas of Chassidus, that came through the Baal Shem Tov, und dem chayas was in nimshach von Eskala geworden durch den Alter Rebbe, and that chayas that we said, that makes you one with the Torah mitzvah that came to the Alter Rebbe, is al derech der chiluk zwischen the zwei fane chayas. It's similar to the two chayas that we said, chayas kloli and chayas proti. The Baal Shem Tov at Megala given a chayas kloli and Torah mitzvahs. The Shem Tov revealed the senior that you have to go into Torah mitzvahs, become one, but beklolos. Was beklolos hat sich das ausgedickt in der Minyan Amunah. In other words, he brought a certain point that made everything equally, and you have a chayas in everything of Torah mitzvahs. And main thing that's Amunah. Amunah is the yesod of everything. Actually, the Gemara says, Chavakuk said that the yesod of all Torah mitzvahs, tzadik b'manasa yichya, it's Amunah. But that means that there's something that you have that will make you one with Torah mitzvah. We keep on saying that chayas means that you become, that's your pnimis. So the Baal Shem Tov is brought this idea and teaches how you could become one with the Torah mitzvahs. That should be like your chayas, but it could be like your chayas kloli. There's one nekuda and they're all equal, and that gives you a chayas. That's true. That brother bring chayas. Now, gamas the keich hamunah that durch alle keiches hanefesh. Even though the keich hamunah penetrates into every aspect of the person, every attribute of the person, and affects it, and it makes him chayas, was nimmt durch in ganzen, that this emunah penetrates into every part of the person. So everything is there. Like I says, the tzaddik be'emunah seyichi, tzaddik litlus is emunah. So l'chura, already you have everything. You have the nekuda of chayas, which means that you become one with it, and that's what emunah is. It makes you one with every part of Torah mitzvahs. But it doesn't mean that this chayas is there in every part of the person, but not mitzad the individuality of every part. The chayas kloli that we said before by the person also goes into every part of the body. Every part of the body becomes alive. But we said that the chayas that's in the hand is there not mitzad it being a hand, or in the eye mitzad it being eye. It's there because the hand is part of the body. The eye is part of the body, so they're all the same. Same thing with Amunah. Amunah affects every part, but not mitzad the individuality of that part. No, mitzad the minyan kloli for yad keach. Every keach has one nekuda which they're all equal. Was ist verbunden mit dem Nekudas Amunah from the Neshama. That's connected to the Nekudah of Amunah, which is all Neshama, and everything has that, but not the individuality of every small thing. Now, there with the Chayas Koli, like we said, this general Chayas was nem durch alle Iverim, penetrates into every limb, becomes one with every part of the body. But it's not one with this individuality. Like I said before, it's in the hand, and the whole hand is alive. But it's not mitzad the hand, mitzad the individual specific thing of hand. It's because of the clothes in spite of the goof. Now, when the kuda clothes from Leib, there's one the kuda, all the limbs are part of one body. Was there's a tail from goof for them, they're all part of the body of the person. So that's what the Baal Shem Tov was mechadish, and took it on the senior how to be one with Torah mitzvahs, and the Torah mitzvahs should be part of you. It should be your chayas, and your chayas should be in the pnimius. So that is all, that everything of Torah mitzvahs has a nekuda of amunah. So it's one nekuda. The Rebbe caused that every individual koyach of the neshama, and in jeder aved in Torah mitzvahs, and everything that you do in Torah mitzvahs, eich mitzad dem prot, and teichen proti from them koyach. That you have a chayas even in everything, not only mitzad that this is a mitzvah. You have a chayas in every mitzvah. So, according to Hashem, that every mitzvah is the same. It should be that way. Every mitzvah is the same. You have a chayas, it's a mitzvah, David, and so. But what the Alter Rebbe said that you can have a chayas and connect it to every mitzvah, mitzvah, the specific mitzvah as itself. And there you also have a connection to it. Alter Rebbe the chayas proti, but it's used with minion proti from Yad Rebbe, like the specific chayas, which is measured according to the specific of this limb. But the Fathers is verbunden mit Chabad. That's why it's connected to Chabad. Chabad was just intellect. But Seichel, und die Pula von Seichel, intellect, and the effect of Seichel, what it does, is durch Tefe sein, die Protein Ksovis from the muscle. How do you understand something? When you get involved in the details of it. Und in ein Eifen, was sich mislabisch in the Keches HaNefesh, and you have to be involved in every individual thing. Peilt in say, in ein Eifen Pnimi, eich mit dem Teichen Protein von dem Kech. And it pales on them, even with an individual. When you have Chabad and you have to think, so you can't just think the chlolas. When you try to understand something, you have to go into the details. And what Chabad did showed that when you go into the details, you could feel the elokus in the details and it should become part of you. So when you put out film, so Mitzad Baal Shem Tov, it brought out the connection of a Yid to become part of it and go into it, Mitzad film, because it's a Rotzen of Deibishter. Kedamon of Deibishter. Film and Sukkah, Matz, it's all the same. One Nekudet. And okay, the Alter Rebbe said true, but then I want to go a step further. That you have to be connected, and one with tefillin, not only because it's Rotzen of David Cholos, because tefillin is what's the Rotzen of David. David wants a specific mitzvah, and in that comes from Seichel, you must be in the protim, and you come to understand how this is a lakus and what it is, makes you one with that. Then the Rebbe says like this. Seemingly, chayis proti is a lower madrege. Chayis kloli gives chayis for the whole body. Chayis proti is only individual, so it seems like it's limited to different things. Where number one, there's a bagrenis to chayis about this. It's a limited chayis. It's only measured according to each limb has its own chayis, so it's not a general chayis. Second thing is that bittul for neighbors chayis and nitas aktiv for a bittul. The fact that the physical limb is bottled to its life is not so strong if you have it to the prat. The bala the chayis git anot for jeden inyan proti from the meved. Since the chayas that you have is leaves place, as he says it, for the prat of the Eiver, so obviously it's not such a big chayas, because if it's more general, then it's stronger. It's the whole body involved. Here, only individual, so it's very small. It's limited to this, and also when we say the chayas is nothing is bottled to the part, the Eiver, the limb is bottled to the chayas, but it's bottled in a small way because it's only a specific Eiver. So it's not a very general thing. Nevertheless, there's a mile in the chayas proti. There's something special in the chayas proti. What is it? Those gufa was chayas kloli is not verbunden in proti if you had neighbor. This fact that chayas kloli is not connected to the individuality of every limb. That shows the opposite of what we said before. We said before that the chayas proti is not so strong. The chayas kloli is mainly. But on the other hand, look at it this way. Chayas kloli is not connected to every individual Eiver as an individual Eiver. It shows that it's not complete chayas. But the far nemte nit adur the minyan part of the Eiver. Since why doesn't it penetrate into the individuality of this Eiver? Because it's not that great. So it can't go into every detail. Dafke dem Chayes Proti, was nem dur the Ebrim, it's a Zerinyan Proti. Dafke because of the Chayes Proti that is absorbed itself in everything, mitzad the detail of it. Und in einer von Chayes, was nem durch ein ganz, and it's there, and it's Chayes, which means it becomes completely one with the individuality. There you see the real Chayes because it goes into every detail. There's nothing left out Chayes. Chayes Kloli, you talk every part is Chay. But not, since the individuality of each Eved is not connected to Chayes, it means that Chayes doesn't penetrate into everything. Penetrates into everything, but not into every detail. But the Chayes Proti goes into every detail. Better says when it gets to Chassidus Chabad, the same is by Chassidus Chabad. Dafke durch dem, der Alter Rebbe mamshig werden, dem Chayes von Chassidus in the Proti Keches HaNefesh, let's say, Dafke because the Alter Rebbe brought down the union of Chayes of Chassidus in the individual attributes of a person according to their individuality, each one according to its teichen. That's taking the Baal Shem Tov's Teres Chassidus, which brought the close the Kechayas. And the Alter Rebbe took it a step further. He took the Baal Shem Tov's thing, which is Chayas, that becomes your etzem, it becomes one with you, and you become one, and he stretched it out that you go even further into the prat of every Eiver. But the far ven the prat akechas, they're going to with Chayas Chassidus. So that's why the individuality, the individual parts of every person, of every detail of the person is also one with the Eibishter, and it has the Chayas, which means that it's one with you. Those are the keshes between Chayel and Pashik. So now we see the connection of Chayel, which represents Chassidus, both in Yonim, the Chassidus Hakloli and Chassidus Chabad, connection to Pashik Sove. The Chayas Kloli from Teres Chassidus Hakloli is Nirmis in the Minya from Sove. What Teres Chassidus Hakloli is made, that you have a Chayas Kloli, and you are one with the Torah you learn, but the Chlolos was meant a reinkommen in ganz, and we said before, Sove means to go in completely in the Aveda from Torah mitzvahs. So we see how the Chayel mitzvah Baal Shem Tov is connected to Sove. Sove means go into it, and we said in the beginning, going into means become one with it completely. That's what Chassidus did, go into Torah mitzvahs. But those inside the Nekudas Achayis, the Teres Chassidus get the rein in the Aveda from Torah mitzvahs. Because Chassidus brings in the Chayis and Torah mitzvahs, and now Chayis means it's paleptos, it makes it alive, it means that you're one with it. That's Kisove. And no, therefore, the me Chayas calling the Proti Achakekes Hatzman. Now you have to take the same thing, this Chayas, and bring it into the details, into Torah mitzvahs, and said each detail of each mitzvah and each part of Torah. So you have to bring the Chayas Kloli into the Proti. But those main three, so when we say going in one thing, then we say there's also details that you have to go in such a way that you inherit it and you settled. You conquered it and you settled it. That's already details. That means mitroktarotem chayes kloli from chassidus nais yashvus. You bring the chayes kloli, but you bring it deeper. Not only because when you go into it's a srol beklolis, that's similar to the it's chay. You're going in, and it means going in completely to a certain level. It's going in completely, but it's not going into the details. But when you're ready and there, you inherit and you settle, etc., then you're going into the details. In the prote keches hanefesh, which represent the individual keches of the nefesh, v'dos is durch teres chassidus Chabad, that happens through the teres chassidus Chabad.